Black history is rich in Western Pennsylvania. So today we're celebrating first.
Sometimes it's hard to believe that I'm the first one to do it.
Learning about culture.
Those different colors that come from jazz and R&B start to filter their way into the worship music.
Recognizing when things need to change.
The teaching workforce is predominantly white, and the student ratio is disproportionate to that.
And honoring legacies.
I think it makes the bridge between different generations.
Today we celebrate Black History Month here in Pittsburgh on WPXI Now. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lisa Sylvester. We begin with a first for Pittsburgh, the first African-American president judge in Allegheny County.
First African-American to serve as president judge for Allegheny County courts. When I say those words, what goes through your mind?
Well, sometimes it's hard to believe that I'm the first one to do it.
WPXI Now's Damani Lewis sat down with Judge Kim Berkeley Clark to find out what drives her to make our communities better.
Your chance that you had to meet Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
So I have to say, it is like meeting a rock star.
On the office walls of new Allegheny County President Judge Kim Berkeley Clark, you'll find history all over. Pictures of meeting Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
She's witty and charming, and really, it was pretty awesome.
To a rare picture of both President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden. And although her walls are filled with history, she too is making her own history, becoming the first African-American judge in Allegheny County to be appointed president judge of the 5th Judicial District.
Sometimes it's hard to believe that I'm the first one to do it because I'm certainly by no means the first or even close to the first African-American judge in Allegheny County. Homer Brown was our first African-American judge, and then I believe followed by Warren Watson and then others, and so there certainly have been opportunities, I think, for that to happen. So it's sort of surprising that I'm the first one.
For the Wilkinsburg native, Judge Clark says growing up, her mentors have always been her parents, and she initially didn't see herself going into law, even though her grandfather was a lawyer.
My paternal grandfather was a lawyer, and it was interesting how that happened because my grandfather was born in 1856, pre-Emancipation Proclamation in the South in Virginia, and he didn't go to law school. Many lawyers in those days didn't, and he read for the law and passed the bar and was admitted to the practice of law in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Judge Berkeley Clark received her bachelor's from the historically black Tennessee State University and her law degree from Duquesne University. In 1999, Judge Clark was appointed to the Court of Common Pleas by then-Governor Tom Ridge. Most recently, she sat on the bench as a juvenile and family court judge. It was while working in family court she realized the importance of who she works for.
Know anything about juvenile court, it's very busy, very fast-paced, and you're sitting there looking at all these people, and it just dawned on me that, I get paid by the taxpayers. I'm a public servant.
Because of her hard work and dedication in transforming the way family court is operated, Judge Clark was named the recipient of the William H. Rehnquist Award for Judicial Excellence in 2017, the highest honor given to a state court judge. Judge Clark says in Black history, she has had many great examples to follow, but connects with NAACP original charter member Mary Church Terrell as someone she admired.
When I think about the struggles that she went through and what she accomplished as a black woman at the time she came along, that really inspires me.
As the new president judge, she now inspires the next generation of young African-American boys and girls. She says when talking to children, she tells them with hard work and dedication, anything is possible, and to succeed, never say two simple words.
I always tell kids they should never say, I can't do this, I can't do that. They can say, it's hard, it's difficult, I'm struggling with this. So when we think about it in those terms, let's get over the hurdles.
President Judge isn't the only local government position with a first. In local government for Western PA, there are several first black mayors. Betty Copeland in Bridgeville, Marita Garrett in Wilkinsburg, Nicole Nesby in Duquesne, and in Aliquippa, Beaver County, Dwan Walker. And joining that list is a young woman who takes the helm of a borough once run by Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman. Channel 11's Marlisa Goldsmith met Mayor Sharday Jones, who describes being Braddock's new mayor as a chance to rebuild the community.
All these nameplates and chambers, but none of them for mayor. It's been a while since anybody's filled this seat, but newly appointed Mayor Sharday Jones has big shoes to fill, and she cannot wait to get to work. Native Sharday Jones is a Carlow University graduate who had plans on becoming a successful writer. Little did she know her journey would have much more in store. She went on to become a secretary, flight attendant, now business analyst, and Braddock's newest mayor. Mayor of Braddock. How does that sound?
That sounds so surreal, like it's still sinking in that it happened last night.
Standing at 5 feet 5 inches with purple-colored locks, this 29-year-old may not look like a traditional mayor, but she's the youngest to hold that title in Braddock's history.
The first thing my dad said when I dyed my hair purple recently is, he goes, "You can't be mayor and have purple hair." So the first thing I did is I called him last night and I was like, "Guess what? I'm mayor and I have purple hair." To be mayor, it's about the job and not necessarily what you look like. And I'm so happy for this young, energetic energy that's going into politics.
Jones credits her predecessor, John Fetterman, with paving the way.
He shined a light on Braddock.
And bringing a new energy to her city.
It was so much needed and appreciated.
She has big shoes to fill, but she's determined to keep that momentum going.
So many people that come from here, they grow up and then they leave to find something better. And I was like, we could help build something to make it better.
Jones hopes Braddock can continue rebuilding and the community be a part of helping with that vision.
I need to stay here because I want to leave it better than I found it.
Marlisa, you also took time to look at education in the Black community and the importance of representation.
Yeah, Lisa, there have been studies done that show how students resonate better with those who simply look like them. So our producers and I wondered what the demographics are in Pittsburgh public schools. I sat down with the district's human resources officer who answered the question. In Mrs. Firestone's second grade classroom,
you did 4 + 3 and got 7.
Students are genuinely excited about learning.
Fun to be back.
But for many of these urban Pittsburgh students, most of their classroom teachers won't look like them.
Pittsburgh is much like other large cities in which the teaching workforce is predominantly white, and the student ratio is disproportionate to that.
Minority students have become a majority in public schools across the country, yet there's a disproportionate ratio of students of color to minority teachers. When Channel 11 collected Pittsburgh Public School District demographic data, we learned 84% of the district's K-12 teachers were white, while a mere 16% of those professionals were people of color.
Fortunately, though, in our situation in Pittsburgh, we do have a paraprofessional workforce that reflects the demographic of our student population, and we're looking to build upon that.
55% of Pittsburgh Public's paraprofessionals are of color, closely resembling the 53% of Black students within the district. The district recently launched a program that trains and encourages their paraprofessionals who may want to go on to become teachers, creating a better balance of race and ethnicity in the teacher workforce. The program is called the Para to Sub Initiative, just one part of a comprehensive plan that also includes the Para to Teacher Initiative.
For those that are certified, they haven't been given the opportunity to demonstrate that they can work effectively in a classroom and demonstrate their skills as a full classroom teacher.
The board of directors just voted on the plan at the end of January, and the district is prepared to roll out the pilot program at Brashear High School on March 1st.
We're going to be able to utilize some of the time paras work in the classroom as substitutes to be able to utilize that time and credit it towards a student teaching experience. So in doing that, now they already have a practicum that they're completing on the job.
So when it's too young to decide you want to teach? Educators with Pittsburgh Public School District say they start pretty young. And with the Teaching Magnet program at Brashear High School, they start recruiting in middle school. I'd like you to meet Charlotte Stevens, who's currently going through the program. Open arms arms and bright smiles greet Charlotte Stevens as she returns to this second grade classroom.
How are you? Good.
She's in her 4th year of Brashear's Teaching Magnet program.
When Miss McCarthy first came to me, when I first did my first lesson, she was like, have you ever played teaching like as a kid? And I was like, no. You know, I hated school. So I was like, that's not what I would want to do.
But over the years, that perspective has changed.
Maybe I do like teaching. Maybe I never understood like what a teacher actually does.
Initiatives like this program are invaluable for Pittsburgh Public Schools as they're taking a more intentional approach in recruiting a more diverse teaching workforce.
So you have the 2. We need something that ends with a 9.
Over the past 30 years this program has been around, coordinator Hannah McCarthy has seen its impact firsthand.
A lot of times what happens is if you just see one person, you're like, oh, maybe I want to fit in being a teacher. But when they see my students come on, the little ones will look and say, oh, they're like us. I'm going to be a teacher too.
In May, Charlotte will graduate and plans on attending Slippery Rock to study elementary special education.
They're the reason why I for sure want to do teaching.
And she credits the Teaching Magnet program with helping her discover a talent she never thought she had.
Without this, I don't know how serious I would be.
Thanks, Marlisa. A predominant Pittsburgh native was August Wilson. The famous playwright is best known for his works like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and Fences. And having such an artistic mind has driven the center named after him to bring riveting and thought-provoking art right here to Pittsburgh. David Johnson talked with the center to give us a sneak peek on some of the exhibits you can see today.
This is a piece called Here and There.
India Herndon with the August Wilson Center is in charge of helping bring exhibits and people to Pittsburgh. She takes us through some of the center's most powerful exhibits that you can go see right now.
It's a beautiful piece because you actually get to show where you came from versus where you are now. And it's a really powerful piece because you have a chance to see just how interwoven we are, how diverse we are.
It's exhibits like this one that show the reach of newfound Pittsburghers. This particular exhibit will stick around until March. Now she takes us to an emotional exhibit all the way from Africa.
So this is Flying Girls, and it tells a story about a young girl named Sim. She is a servant during the day, but at night in her dreams, she sprouts wings and she flies and she's free.
We went down to check out one of the performances that aim to give perspective on greetings and handshakes among Black people. Damani Lewis gives us the history on the dap.
It's like a big part of our culture, how people greet each other.
And that's called dap. It's evolved over the years, so learning the history behind it is the purpose of Dap Line.
Dap Line is an important piece. It has a historical trajectory around the phenomena, the action, or the history of giving dap.
Raymond Codrington is the executive director for High Arts from New York City.
That's the kind of work that we do at our organization and see move to other spaces like the August Wilson Center. I think it makes the bridge between different generations.
Which was the audience that came to the February showing.
It's pretty important, even at a young age, for my age, to help me understand history.
That's just where I came from. That's where my ancestors came from.
Dap Line is an all-male show. There isn't music, just a bit of narration and movements. Codrington says those who attend typically gain a better perspective on Black friendship.
The camaraderie and the relationship between African American males that they don't often see.
And his goal is that it opens awareness for all people to challenge stereotypes.
And the relationship between men in particular, and Black men more specifically, is very complex and doesn't have to be all of the things that you always see on the news and in the media that are oftentimes stereotyped.
It was a lesson in Pittsburgh's Black history in January with Ride with the King. Doors Open Pittsburgh tourgoers were taken by bus to 5 buildings to learn what they meant to African Americans. Several African Methodist Episcopal churches were part of the tour, including Bethel AME in the Hill District and St. James AME in East Liberty. And that's where WPXI got a chance to learn about the Black gospel experience.
The music tells the story, or at least it should. You know, you should hear the story of whoever's singing it or whoever the song's really about.
When parishioners come to St. James on Sundays, they are there to worship. And a lot of that is conveyed through song.
So you get the worship experience. You also get the African American experience, which is you're getting the story, you know, in everything. You get that, you get that in the food. You get that in the preaching.
Music can move people in many ways.
There's not a friend like the lonely Jesus. You start the clapping.
And Howie Alexander knows what a strong effect that can be.
Clapping on 2 and 3 and being able to express that joy, you know, joy in the Lord, you know, joy in freedom. You know, I could play that same thing, but a lot of the other flavors come into play.
Those differences in flavor can totally change the story.
When slavery was in America, you can hear the oppression in the story, you know. I know I've been changed. You know, you hear that angels in my name. You know, you hear that, and almost like you feel it heavenly. It doesn't have to be about victimization. It could also be about liberation.
And like many other aspects of the church, gospel music has been modernized.
A lot of times people think, you know, if you're in club Saturday night, you know, there's not much difference from church and Sunday morning, you know, some of the stuff you might hear.
But even if the music has changed, the story remains.
It's not a show. You don't go there to clap your hands because the beat is good. You go there to clap your hands in reference to the Lord. As long as you get the message.
Howie says the transformative power of gospel music goes both ways.
I've seen music draw people to the church, and I've seen music push people away.
But he says it's not the songs themselves that push or pull.
It's the story, you know, behind the song. It's the story about Christ. It's the story about your own soul and your own salvation. Those messages that I think are really, really important.
And that is one of his biggest takeaways about gospel music.
You get that experience when you go to the black church. Like you can, and if you're connected, you can feel it, and you're moved by it. Hopefully you're moved by it.
From shackles worn by slaves to campaign flyers, where you can take a 400-year step back to learn Black history. Stay with us. Many came out as the city of Pittsburgh introduced its own exhibit in African American history. The name is deeply rooted, called Enslavement and Freedom, Early African American Life in Pittsburgh. It's from curator John Ford's own collection, and you'll see artifacts from Africa and Pittsburgh that are bound to evoke emotion, like authentic shackles to keep blacks enslaved and this kente cloth.
That's really 12 feet by 8 feet. And never before have you seen a piece of kente cloth that large. And then too, we have a deed of a black gentleman in Pittsburgh, what we currently now know as West Mifflin. He owned 300 acres of land back in 1803. A lot of it is so very, very cool.
And you'll be able to check it out at the City County Building in downtown Pittsburgh through February 28th. Two state representatives who represent Pittsburgh are at the forefront in making recreational marijuana legal in Pennsylvania. Jake Wheatley represents Pittsburgh's 19th district, which includes the Hill District and Oakland, and Ed Gainey represents the 24th district that includes Homewood, Wilkinsburg, and East Liberty. The bill would legalize recreational pot use for adults over 21. It was presented as an amendment to the act that made medical marijuana legal in 2016. Both lawmakers have rallied for cannabis since the September bill was introduced and have held forums to educate people. Since then, Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman announced a statewide tour to ask Pennsylvanians how they feel about recreational marijuana. Still ahead,
the initial idea came about when there was a lot of visual murders of Black people.
The amazing and positive tool this young woman created that could benefit us all. Supporting local businesses has been a constant push for communities throughout Western PA. And we met a Pitt grad who took that idea a step forward in creating Pittsburgh's most up-to-date Black-owned business directory. As the saying goes, see a need, fill a need. That's the motivation behind Camille Scantling's directory called Cocopreneur.
People asking me for specific businesses. Do you know of a restaurant that serves this? Or do you know of a place where I can have an event? And I thought, okay, I'm getting tired of answering these things on call. Maybe I need to create something where people can have the same information that I have and just share the wealth.
The New Jersey native moved to Western Pennsylvania to attend the University of Pittsburgh and found herself wondering where all the Black-owned businesses were located.
I decided that any Black business that I came across, I would share. And then it just kind of grew, and I needed a place to house all of the businesses that I found. Social media wasn't enough. I decided to start the directory.
It became what's now called Cocopreneur.com. But having access to these businesses has a deeper meaning for Scantling.
The initial idea came about when there was a lot of visual murders of Black people. It was almost a way of deciding that, maybe if we can't find people to treat us well in our communities, we'll build our own communities and make sure they can sustain themselves.
Claude Pierre is proud to be one of 191 businesses listed on Cocopreneur.com. He owns Arnold's Tea along East Ohio Street in Pittsburgh's north side.
This has been one of the monumental parts of Pittsburgh. There's multiple directories all over, but the problem is none of them are in an app form. Everything is still Yellow Pages style, and that's not gonna cut it. So at the end of the day, these are the things that us, and I know I hate to use the word millennials, and this is what we need. I mean, we're not about to open a book and search for businesses.
Pierre is a Brooklyn native and said that it was a culture shock for him when he came to Western Pennsylvania.
The city of Pittsburgh is very black and white. Me being Haitian from the islands, from Brooklyn, New York City, lived in Jersey for a long time. Coming to Pittsburgh, we are like, whoa. When we needed our hair done, when we needed a barbershop, we had a guy. And this is almost like a guide to your guy.
Pierre hopes the directory could promote more people of color to work with each other.
We're gonna click on the app, we're gonna go to a website, and we're gonna say, photography in my hood. And that's what we wanna see. And guess what? We're gonna hire each other. We're gonna give discounts to each other. We're gonna work with each other because of this directory.
And if you're wondering how the directory got its name, Scantling said it's simple.
It was just a cutesy way of putting together something brown, like brown people, and entrepreneurship. So it was just Coco and entrepreneur, and it just brought together Cocopreneur.
A local scientist has been serving his community, helping youngsters learn at the Citizen Science Lab in the Hill District. That's where Dr. Andre Samuel's team of would-be scientists showed me the ropes of building an aquatic robot. It's the details that matter.
We're making a triangle shape right here.
Measuring.
And then we're gonna have maybe a 4-inch here.
And cutting. So they are just right.
If it's smaller, we'll be able to go faster and win the competition.
Competing to win the National Sea Perch Competition. They have the vision, now just putting it all together.
It's like a house-shaped boat, and we accidentally took it apart, and we forgot how to put it back together. First, I wanted to be able to swim because I had to learn to swim, so it's just like teaching it how to swim.
Working as a team.
You get to come here and hang out with your friends, and you get to learn how to work together.
Fifth graders from Pittsburgh Miller gathered on this Thursday at the Citizen Science Lab, building an underwater robot.
It's a big competition where they just get to design and build their own aquatic robot and practice obstacles.
What do you like best about it?
It's fun to put it together, and especially winning.
If you look around, this team is made up of 11-year-old girls.
We hear all the time how girls are underrepresented in STEM, right? And girls across all races and socioeconomic classes.
Andre Samuel had a vision as a PhD student for setting up a lab where underserved children could have access to the sciences right in their neighborhood. They're located in this refurbished building in the heart of the Hill District.
When I was doing my graduate studies, I was the only black person in my program for 6 years.
In his lab, kids are getting a hands-on lesson, piquing their interest, and mine too. With a few pets.
Oh, he's big.
Like this leopard gecko, Romeo.
Oh, my little buddy here.
Oh, yeah,
this is Romeo. I must be his Juliet.
There's also the bearded dragon and ball python, a full-service lab funded by donations from foundations and private individuals. But the focus today is on constructing robots and improving on last year's record when Citizen Science Lab teams took home several awards, including Best Sea Perch Design, Best Scientific Notebook, and Best Team Spirit.
I think the two things that stick out to me the most is seeing how nervous they are about the actual competitions and then seeing them perform at the competitions.
This is Aliyah Dixon's first year competing.
Really exciting because I really want to go on an airplane. I've never been on one before.
And their excitement is contagious. Andre sometimes gets a little choked up thinking about the impact he has on the students' lives and that they have on him.
A couple days ago, I was just leaving. I was like, I gotta go, girls, see you later. And then one of them just comes up and hugs me. And you're not expecting it.
Some things can't be measured or quantified. While the Citizen Science Lab is certainly all about science, it leaves the students with a blueprint for success. Thanks for joining us as we took a walk through Black history in our region. But that is only the beginning. There is so much to celebrate as we make history. We've only skimmed the surface. If you've got stories about Black history that you'd like to see us cover in the future, send them to us on Facebook or email assignments@WPXI.com. Have a great day.